My name is Aylin. I grew up in a small town in Turkey where English was something we only saw in movies or heard in pop songs. It always sounded magical to me, like a secret code only special people knew. I never thought that one day, English would open doors I never even knew existed. My first serious interaction with English happened when I was 14. Our school got a new English teacher, Mr. Holden. He was British, funny, and had a way of making the class feel like an adventure. I didn't understand most of what he said in the beginning, but I was fascinated by his energy. Instead of just focusing on grammar, he played English music, showed us clips from English movies, and encouraged us to speak, even if it was broken. That was the first time I realized English was more than a subject. It was a bridge to the world. I began watching movies without subtitles. I would rewind scenes again and again, repeating the lines, mimicking the accents. I even kept a little notebook where I'd write down new words. My family thought I was going crazy. At 16, I joined an online forum about photography, one of my hobbies. The forum was in English, and all the conversations were between people from different countries. I was nervous, but I forced myself to post comments. To my surprise, people responded. They didn't care about my grammar or accent. They just liked my photos and what I had to say. That was a powerful moment. For the first time, I felt like I had a voice in the global world. My confidence grew. I began helping other students at school with their English. My teachers noticed, and eventually, I was chosen to represent our school in an English-speaking competition in Istanbul. It was a big deal. I had never even been on a plane before, and now I was flying to the biggest city in the country to give a speech in a language I barely knew 5 years ago. I didn't win the competition, but I gained something more important: belief in myself. I saw students from all backgrounds using English to connect, to inspire, to dream. I wanted more of that. I applied for an international student exchange program. I was selected to spend a year in Canada. My parents were hesitant, but I convinced them. It was the first time I would be living away from home, completely immersed in an English-speaking world. Canada was a culture shock. People spoke fast, used slang I didn't understand, and had accents that sounded so different from my teachers. I struggled. I cried. I even thought of going back. But then, something clicked. I stopped being afraid of making mistakes. I started asking questions, writing in a journal, listening to podcasts, and talking to strangers. Every day I learned something new. I began volunteering at a local library, helping immigrant children with their reading skills. It felt good to give back. I wasn't just learning English anymore. I was using it to make a difference. By the end of the year, I was dreaming in English. I was cracking jokes in English. I even gave a small TED-style talk at my host school. That year changed the way I saw myself. When I returned to Turkey, I felt different. I wasn't the same girl who had left a year ago. English had transformed me. It gave me confidence, clarity, and the courage to chase bigger dreams. I applied for universities abroad. I wrote essays in English, practiced for interviews, and got accepted into a university in the Netherlands. My parents were stunned and proud. University was challenging. Everything was in English. Lectures, exams, social life. But I was ready. I joined the debate club, participated in student councils, and even started a blog about being an international student. That blog was the beginning of something unexpected. People from different countries started reading it. They resonated with my story. The struggles, the loneliness, the growth. I received emails from India, Brazil, Kenya. Eventually, I got invited to speak at an education conference about the power of language. I stood in front of hundreds of people and told my story. How English had changed everything for me. I realized English was not just a language. It was freedom. It gave me choices I never had before. I could study anywhere, work anywhere, connect with anyone. During my final year at university, I landed an internship with an international NGO. They were looking for someone who could communicate across cultures. My language skills and personal story made me the perfect fit. I traveled with them to South Africa, where I worked on youth education programs. Many kids there were struggling to learn English. I shared my story with them, and it gave them hope. One girl came up to me and said, "If you can do it, maybe I can too." I'll never forget her face. That was the moment I knew I wanted to dedicate my life to education. After graduation, I joined the NGO full-time. My job now involves traveling to different countries, designing learning programs, and mentoring students. All in English. Each time I step into a new country, I'm reminded of that 14-year-old girl who could barely say, "Hello." She would be amazed at who I've become. I started a YouTube channel to share simple English lessons and motivational stories. It grew faster than I imagined. People loved my personal approach and the way I broke down complex ideas. Now, I receive messages from all over the world, from rural villages to big cities. People tell me my videos help them pass an interview, write a resume, or simply feel more confident. One message really touched me. A woman from Bangladesh wrote, "I watched your video every day. Now, I got a job as a receptionist in a hotel. English changed everything for me." Tears rolled down my face. Her story was my story. Different place, different background, but the same journey. I recently returned to my hometown in Turkey. I visited my old school and met Mr. Holden, my first English teacher. I thanked him for planting the first seed. He smiled and said, "I didn't do much, Aylin. You watered the seed. You made it grow." Now, I'm working on a book about my journey. I want to inspire others, especially those who feel like their voice doesn't matter. Because it does. English gave me that voice. It allowed me to be part of conversations I never imagined. It helped me build a life far bigger than the one I thought possible. To anyone out there learning English, don't give up. It's hard. It takes time. You'll feel lost. But keep going. Because one day, you'll wake up and realize you've crossed oceans without even noticing. You'll make friends you wouldn't have met otherwise. You'll change your life. My name is Aylin. I am not just an English speaker. I am a dreamer, a doer, a connector of worlds. And it all started with a single word. Hello. Now, I say more than hello. I say, welcome. I say, you can do this. I say, let's build a better world together. I used to be afraid of English. Now I use it to teach, inspire, and lead. English didn't just change my vocabulary. It changed my destiny. And I believe it can change yours too.